One of the most remarkable rises in football, Nottingham Forest, under the managerial excellence of Brian Clough, went from a second division side in 1975 to back-to-back European Cup winners within 5 years. Unfortunately, since the turn of the century, Forest has not seen the same levels of success. They've yet to return to the top flight of English football in the last 20 years and currently find themselves struggling in the championship for the 21-22 season. However, hope is not completely lost because we are back again with another installment of our realistic rebuild series. If you haven't yet seen the one I did with Werder Bremen about a month ago or are new to the channel, this series is where I identify some of football's most interesting stories in the context of FIFA 21 career mode. I simulate through multiple seasons, playing the occasional match and keeping the club's culture and transfer policies in mind until we reach the end goal, which in this case, of course, is having Nottingham Forest become European champions once again. If you go on to enjoy this video and want to see some more from this series, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and also drop a comment with other suggestions for clubs that you'd like to see a realistic rebuild for. But without further ado, we've got some ground to make up for Nottingham Forest, so let's begin the rebuild. Nottingham Forest play their football at the City Ground, which origins date all the way back to the 1800s. It's a shame that the actual stadium is not available in career mode, but Ivy Lane will have to do for this rebuild. As far as the squad's concerned, I think this is a team that is capable of fighting for a top 6 finish and thus qualifying for the championship playoffs, which puts us into the mix of Premier League football next season. But the team that you see here is not going to be the same one that we start this rebuild with, as there have been a lot of changes for Forest in the offseason. A little bit more on that later, but we'll begin the career mode with a 20 million transfer budget. Youth development being a big focus for this rebuild, as Forest have recently been promoted to a Category 1 academy status for the 21-22 season. We're also looking to make moves in the transfer window as we look to sign one crucial first team player this season to the forward position, financially making some sort of profit from youth academy player sales, and domestically aiming to get ourselves back into the Premier League and making progress in the FA Cup. But getting back to those squad changes I was talking about, I want to recap all the players that have left the club for the 21-22 season, starting with Diallo, who is one of our reserve goalkeepers. He had his contract come to an end. Ribeiro is actually someone who I had long-term plans for in this rebuild, but he was unfortunately released from Forest, so we'll have to look at other left-back options. Lockett recently signed for MLS club FC Cincinnati on a free transfer, and former Premier League center back Michael Dawson has retired from football, actually returning to Spurs now as a club ambassador. Loans are usually a big part of championship clubs' transfer policies, and that was no different for Forest in the 2021 season, as Christie will be returning back to Fulham from his loan spell. Sal also had his contract and still yet to sign for another club. Machiru didn't exactly fit into Forest's plans, as he heads to Cyprus to continue his footballing career. Freeman, another loanee, will be returning back to Sheffield United, as they also will be in the championship. I didn't realize this at the time, but Maguire has joined Oxford United on a permanent basis. He's one of the few players mentioned here that I didn't let depart in the rebuild, but he didn't play too much of a role. Another high-rated talent, Krvonovic, had his loan spell end at Forest, briefly returning to Benfica before joining a Croatian club. And another huge loss as Omiobi leaves for Middlesbrough. I think a lot of you will know of Knockaert in the career mode scene, but he'll be returning back to Fulham from his loan spell. And finally, we've got English striker Glenn Murray, who has also retired from the game. Shifting gears to some of our younger players, I already mentioned how Forest has achieved the Category 1 academy status, and this is certainly shown from some of the prospects that have developed out of their youth academy, starting with two high potential wingers, both of which playing on the left side. Alex Maitland already making an impact for Forest in the 2021 season. I'm sure fans have high hopes for him in the current campaign. And then you've got Brendan Johnson, who has already attracted a lot of interest from Premier League level clubs. He made a huge impact at Ipswich Town while he was out on loan, is already in the Welsh national team, and is certainly prepared for championship level competition. Konate is a French center attacking midfielder, one of the nations that Nottingham Forest tend to sign players from. Two more players here. We've got an English center midfielder in Ryan Yates, probably will play a box-to-box role for us. Closing out our academy talents with Joe Worrell, who has already had a very interesting football career despite only being 23 years old. He spent some time at both Nottingham Forest and Rangers, but currently captains the Forest side. Usually we'll have a homegrown talented feature at the beginning of the day, but I felt like mixing things up because as I was doing some of my test runs, the homegrown talent that we were given was just too high rated, made the rebuild too easy. Logan Morrison will go through a position change to a center midfielder, giving him a +6 in his rating. I'll be looking to hire more scouts throughout the rebuild, but we begin with a 3-star, 2-star scout as we set up a network for this first season in England. Before we kick off the signings, I want to talk about two players that I'll be recalling from loan, that being Carvalho, a Portuguese center attacking mid. He was a record-breaking transfer at the time for Forest a few seasons ago. Hasn't exactly left the biggest mark on the club yet, but he's got a good rating and decent potential, which means that there is hope for him in this rebuild. And we're lacking some squad depth at the striker position, so Nuno da Costa will be the perfect player to recall. The news that James Garner will be returning back to Nottingham Forest on another year-long loan spell is amazing news because he made a huge mark on the club in the 2021 season. The future is still uncertain whether he'll eventually make his way into the Manchester United squad, but if he ever does become a permanent Forest player, I'm sure that he'll be welcomed with open arms. As a fan of the US men's national team myself, I was a bit surprised by the Ethan Horvath move to Forest, as I know you all have a great goalkeeper already with Samba, but fortunately it looks like he will be playing some sort of squad role. He is featuring in League Cups. Although he did sign on a free transfer IRL, we will be making this signing for 2.6 million. I would hope for Derby's sake that they don't let any more players go because they're already struggling with squad size. And although this is a rival club of Forest, apparently Buchanan grew up as a fan of the club, so it wouldn't be all that surprising if at some point in his career he made the move. Anyways, we did complete this transfer for an additional 2 million, and making our final signing of the summer transfer window. Nathaniel Klein, at the time of me recording this, didn't have a contract with Palace. It looks like he will be staying at the club, but this was too good of a deal to pass up on as we complete the transfer for just 5 million, adding some much needed quality to our starting 11. We've got 2 departures in addition to some of the players that I released because of them leaving the club IRL. Former Arsenal player Carl Jenkinson heading to Celtic for 1.2 million, and Gaetan Bongo leaving for Brentford for 1 million. So with the championship season ready to get underway, we've got a lot of fixtures ahead, squad depth being a big area of focus if we want to withstand the test of a grueling season and gain that promotion back to the Premier League. I do want to highlight the simulations that we had against our rivals Derby County. Both of these happened in the first half of the season, both also ending in a 1-0 result. So as we fast forward to the beginning of the January transfer window and the halfway mark of season 1, we find ourselves 7th in the table, just outside the top 6 goal that we had going into the season. So realistically, if we can make some improvements to this squad, I think we can push higher and higher up in the championship. One area that we clearly are lacking is at the striker position. Graben is starting to drop in his rating. Da Costa, while remaining steady at a 71, obviously that's not going to cut it for the long-term future of this rebuild. So I figure we may as well invest at the striker position. Now, Mousset is the player that we'll be going after. Sheffield United have a variety of different forwards available. Mousset having a bit of Premier League experience, but never really being that #1 striker for them. Still just 24 years old, I think he has a promising future ahead with us, and we'll complete the signing for under his evaluation, transfer fee only being 3 million. And due to the way that simulations work in FIFA 21, I think it's best that we loan out Horvath, because that way he can have the opportunity to at least grow in his rating and challenge for the #1 spot. He'll be headed to Espanyol for the remainder of this 21-22 season, and Harry Arter leaving the club on a permanent basis. While Taylor was also unhappy with his playtime, so he accepted a transfer offer for 1.3 million from Rangers. He'll be leaving the club at the start of next season. The core of his Forest team is still intact, but we've got a new striker option available. Hopefully that'll allow us to score more goals and win more matches as we catch up in May 2021. Just 2 fixtures remaining this season, and the match that we'll be featuring for the gameplay is against Sheffield United. Both of us are competing for the 2nd place in the table. Fulham by and far are going to be league winners, but importantly, the 2nd team in the championship will also gain automatic promotion. So a win here will start to narrow our competition. And this is what I mean in terms of Sheffield United's options at striker. They have both Brewster and McBurney already starting. As far as the gameplay highlights go, I'm only going to be showing key chances as we have multiple seasons to get through for the rebuild. But it's Buchanan that left a strong first impression. He gets the ball back for us, plays a fantastic through ball, and it's Johnson who is through on goal. 1-on-1 with the keeper. He's going to be going for the far post, and that is indeed a cross goal finish. Johnson, probably the most promising player or original player in this Nottingham Forest squad, and he's going to showcase his ability right here, getting it by Ramsdale with ease as we get ahead in this match 1-0, making a substitution in the 63rd minute to also feature Alex Mighton. I don't want to forget about him because he is also someone that is garnering a lot of interest from other clubs, even in the Premier League, and I wouldn't be surprised if in a few seasons time we see him playing at the top flight of English football. But we're going to get one more chance here in the 91st minute. Mighton running onto the ball. Not quite going to get there, but ref will call for full time. It's a 1-0 victory in a crucial match for us, almost ensuring our place in the Premier League next season as long as we don't falter in the final match. And as we take a look at the final standings, we did indeed finish ahead of both Sheffield United and Bournemouth, who were challenging for a little bit. Kind of a surprise winner from the promotion playoff final. It's Swansea that'll be joining both us and Fulham in the Premier League. They've gotten close a couple of times to gaining promotion, so it's kind of nice to see see them back in the top flight. And speaking of the Premier League, it's Watford, Southampton, and Norwich that will be sent down to the championship. A couple of updates for the upcoming season. Garner does have his loan set to expire. I thought a long time about what I want his role to be in the rebuild. I know that he has a lot of appreciation for Manchester United, and ideally for him in the future, I would see him in the starting 11 for them. But in the meantime, we can't promote our homegrown talent per se. It's Logan Morrison. He's up to a 62 overall at this point. Also has a leadership trait in game, which is actually quite rare to find for a youth academy player. Declan Wild will be joining him, although he's only 45 rated, does have 91 potential and 5-star skill moves and a 4-star weak foot to go along with that. Recapping our other competitions, it was a 6-round exit for us in the FA Cup. Liverpool going on to win, and for the Carabao Cup, we were eliminated in the 4th round. Manchester City won that trophy. PSG went on to win their first Champions League in a final against Atletico Madrid, and Arsenal going all the way to the Europa League final and winning against Lille. I like to cover top statistics to see who some of the standout players in the squad are, and Lolly, even though he's playing as a winger, was the top goal scorer. Probably had some of the most appearances for the club, 19 goals from 54. Musette, some impressive numbers, 18 goals from 46. I think that might include his Sheffield United numbers as well. Carvalho was also the only player to reach double digits for assists, as he had 11 from 53. And for overall growth, no surprise that Logan Morrison was our top player, had that huge bump in his rating from switching to a center midfielder position, and had a few improvements over the course of the season. Our manager rating is also in a great shape, in the green at 94. We'll be trying to keep it as close to 100 as much as possible, but it's time for season 2 of the rebuild and Forest return to the Premier League. Now that we are in the Premier League, we need to make some tough decisions to determine which of our current players have the quality to compete in England's top flight and which ones should be transfer listed so that they can get more playtime abroad or in the lower divisions of English football. And this is what I mean. A sharp increase in our transfer budget puts us at over 50 million. And as far as objectives go, pretty similar to last season, signing a couple of youth academy players, brand exposure, looking to get 5 consecutive matches without defeat in away fixtures, also signing another crucial first team forward. Financially, we need to complete that objective of making a profit from youth academy player sales. And domestically, it's pretty simple. We need to avoid relegation. This season's youth scouting network will be set up in Ireland. It's the second most common for nationality for Nottingham Forest. And with some of the most recent players like Arthur and Christie leaving the club, it's time to find some new talents to replace them. If you watched the last realistic rebuild I did, you'll know that checking free agents will usually give you some great talent. It was no different in this case as we find a high-rated left-back option. While Buchanan had a strong start for us at Forest, I don't think he's ready for the Premier League quite yet. Aaron Creswell, on the other hand, is a proven option. Plenty of years of experience playing for West Ham United, and I'm surprised that he was even available. You know, a free transfer for a player whose evaluation is at 11.5 million, that's just some good business. And as far as Buchanan goes, he will be spending the season out on loan at Watford, who were sent back down to the championship. We're not going to stop there for the signings, though. It's Florentino, a Portuguese center defensive mid from Benfica, that will look to sign. I feel like Nottingham Forest and Benfica do have a bit of transfer history, so clearly it's a club that we can make some realistic signings from. The fee was just 10 million, slightly above the player's evaluation, but as a 21-year-old, we should have no problem seeing him reach the mid-80s for his rating. Another club that Forest have close ties to are Olympiacos. They share the same owner, so we'll look to make another defensive improvement, signing Osenyu Ba. This signing was completed for 7 million, and as a result of that transfer, I felt like it was time for Figueiredo to leave the club, so he'll be headed to Galatasaray for 2 million. It'll be another loan spell for Horvath as he joins Ajax for 2 years. It's another test for him, and hopefully he'll get some play time and we can get a status update in a few seasons. I think there are definitely some interesting storylines for this Forest team in season 2. Whether we'll be able to withstand the test of the Premier League, also which one of our 3 center backs will get into the starting 11. For right now, it's going to be Ba and Warrell as our new dynamic duo, but we'll see if that's still the case come the January transfer window. And as we check in for January 2022, we find ourselves just outside of the relegation zone. Both us and Fulham, 2 of the newly promoted teams, are struggling. Swansea City, on the other hand, are absolute bottom of the table. Scoring goals seem to be one of our weak points, and we still had our board objectives of signing a crucial first-team attacker. So we'll turn to Liga NOS as we look to sign a former Spurs Academy player. Marcus Edwards left the Premier League a few seasons ago, but he seemed to perform well, at least for the 19-20 campaign. He's still very much a high potential player in career mode as we complete this signing for 33 million. And also, we're due for a couple promotions in our youth academy. Dylan Keegan coming through as a center forward / center attacking mid. I felt like center attacking mid was actually his preferred position. That did, after all, give him a +3 to his rating. And another midfielder in James Keogh, only a 58 overall, but you never really know with these youth academy players. They can see a sharp rise after a couple of loan spells. I felt like we were lacking some squad depth at the striker position, so we'll look to sign another Manchester United youngster on a loan basis, primarily featuring for Manchester United's under 23 squad. Another will be a capable option coming off the bench. And as we look to acquire some funds through youth academy player sales, we will be seeing the departure of Logan Morrison. It's not something that I necessarily wanted to do, but I wanted to make some progress for this board objective. So we'll be getting 1.2 million in funds from that transfer. Two other departures as Da Costa is off to Brazil and Colback joining Bristol City for 670,000. Now that our squad depth issue has been sorted and we're starting to make those gradual improvements to our starting 11, the aim now is to keep our place in the Premier League standings. More and more you see teams that gain promotion to the Premier League see the drop back down to the Championship the very next season. We're not trying to follow that trend. But as we check in on our final match day against West Ham United, there's a very interesting situation going on in the standings. Only 2 points separating 16th place Brentford and 19th place Burnley. A win here wouldn't necessarily see us jump up to 17th or 16th in the table, but you've got to figure that either Brentford or Fulham are set to drop some points on this final match day. This will also be a special occasion for Lewis Grabban, who's retiring at the end of the season at a 61 overall. Definitely won't make it into the starting 11, but if we find ourselves needing a different striker option or winning at the end of the match, he may get a final appearance. There was pressure going into this final match day. Not only are we going to see a first appearance for the likes of Marcus Edwards and Florentino, but if we do see a loss or even a draw and drop down to the Championship, we'll likely lose out on a lot of our players in the starting 11. We will start this match's highlights on the right note. Florentino playing through Johnson, similar to what he was able to do in season 1 of the save. This time, he was just barely called back for offside, but 40th minute now, just before the halftime break. This time, Johnson will be onside. The West Ham United defenders unable to catch up. However, the effort dragged just wide. You'll see how close this actually was. I think Fabianski did a good job closing down the angle. Into the second half, though, and Carvalho playing through Musset. This is the first time that we're able to see him in action. Through on goal, unable to find the back of the net courtesy of a goal line clearance from the West Ham United defender, and will make that change. Grabban being brought on in the 66th minute. There is something special when you use these original squad players. Despite him being only 61 rated, Grabban made the impact on this match, being in the right place at the right time as they'll score the first goal. And what an important goal that could be for us at Nottingham Forest. As I go on to do more and more of these rebuilds, I've come to realize how important momentum is, and staying in the Premier League on our final match day would give us a significant boost to our morale. The good times are only going to continue though, as Grabban will get a brace. This was just a nice finish there on the keeper's near post, securing us 3 points in this match. And now we just need to wait on how some of the results went for our opponents. And taking a look at the standings, both us and Fulham actually will save our spot in the Premier League. Burnley, Brentford, and Swansea City all seeing the drop to the Championship. A close race as well for the league title. Liverpool and Manchester United both finishing on 83 points, but Liverpool had the better goal differential. And getting into the FA Cup, it was a 4th round exit for us against Premier League winners Liverpool. Arsenal went on to win this competition, so trophies in back-to-back seasons for you Gunner fans. The Carabao Cup was also an early exit, a 2nd round defeat as Liverpool won in a final against Manchester United. Juventus winning the Champions League for the 21-22 season, and Manchester United winning the Europa League over Leicester City on penalties. In a season where we struggled, Carvalho asserted himself as one of the top players at the club, leading the team in not only goals but also assists. Those numbers weren't exactly impressive, but he's going to be a crucial player for this rebuild in the long-term future. And Dylan Keegan looking very promising as a youth academy player, +4 in his overall, up to a 65, and probably will be sent out on loan for season 3. There was of course a drop in our manager rating down to 80 now, but we achieved our main objective of staying in the Premier League, and I was still very much optimistic about season 3 of this rebuild. Now that we've established that we're capable of staying in the Premier League, our ambition is to push towards a mid-table finish and start bringing in more and more talented players. Budget-wise, we're looking a lot less than last season, only about 25 million to spend. Board objectives-wise, not many changes since last year. The board actually is looking for us to retain some of our funds, which is quite interesting because they also expect us to finish higher up in the Premier League table. While Musset was a solid goal scorer for us in the Championship, I felt like he wasn't quite Premier League proven, and overall and potential-wise, there are better options out there, such as Abel Ruiz. Used to be part of the La Masia Youth Academy system in Barcelona, has since transferred to Braga, and because Nottingham Forest have a history of making Spanish signings and also transferring in players from Liga NOS clubs, I felt like he would be the perfect number 9 option for us. This will mark a transfer record for the club, spending 25.3 million, pretty much depleting the rest of our transfer budget, but there was another quality free agent available in Callum Chambers. Pretty versatile player as well. Right back is his preferred position, but he predominantly plays center back for Arsenal. Still just 27 years old. We'll be lucky if he can hit the 80s for his overall. We also finally received some offers for Tyler Blackett, as he'll be departing the club for 1.3 million. So with the Premier League season set to get underway, we've got a good month of August ahead. Our second fixture actually against a rival club in Derby County. They must have gained promotion from the championship last season. And squad-wise, I'm hoping that more of our players can hit an 80+ overall for their rating. As of right now, Marcus Edwards is the only player to achieve that feat. We'll head into the January transfer window and take a look at the league standings. A big improvement from last season. We are indeed mid-table, sitting in 12th, and are pushing to become in the top half of the table. And as expected, our younger players are growing in their overall. This kind of led me to believe we don't necessarily need to make changes to the squad. We've done well to move up about 7 places in the league standings compared to last season. The only argument you could make is that we can add some more squad depth in the midfield. I did send out a scout to Northern Ireland at the beginning of this season. That didn't bring back too many talented players, so we're going to look to sign a real player in FIFA 21 from Northern Ireland. Alfie Mccall from Leeds will be the player that we look to sign. He's had some potential downgrades over the years, but I'm hoping that as a result of dynamic potential, we can see that overall rating rise, as we'll complete this transfer on a small fee of 2.2 million. Nathaniel Klein, no longer starting for the club, losing his spot to Callum Chambers, is set to depart for Bundesliga club Augsburg. We'll be receiving 7 million as a result of that transfer. Finally, I think we're in a position where if we suffer an injury in our starting 11, we can have one of our substitutes fill in for that role, and we won't necessarily notice too much of a difference. So whatever funds were left over will be used towards signing a 5-star scout for our youth academy. I just felt like the players we were scouting weren't exactly up to the standards that I was looking for in this rebuild. And as far as the league standings go, we didn't exactly have an exciting season, achieving our objective of finishing mid-table. Thinking back, it would have been nice to highlight one of the Derby fixtures against Derby County, but at the time that didn't cross my mind. Manchester United did end up winning the league title, taking the trophy away from Liverpool and only winning the Premier League by 1 point. We made it to the 4th round of the FA Cup, eventually seeing a loss to Watford, as United also won that competition. A 3rd round exit against Sheffield United in the Carabao Cup, which will allow United to complete a treble winning campaign. Borussia Dortmund winning the Champions League, and another German team in Bayern winning the Europa League in a penalty kick shootout against Wolfsburg. Marcus Edwards' return to the Premier League has been successful so far, getting in the double digits for goals, and Carvalho still leading the way for assists. Still would like to see those statistics grow a little bit more, but it was Abel Ruiz who saw the most growth for us. Once you put strikers on a development plan, they tend to shoot up in their rating. He saw a +4 up to an 81 overall, and still in a decent shape for our board objectives, down 6 from last year, but progress still being made in the Premier League. Now 4 seasons into the rebuild, we've made a name for Forest as one of the clubs quickly rising through the ranks of English football, similar to what they did in the late 70s and early 80s. Our next step in the ladder will be qualifying for European competitions. That's reflected in our board objectives this season, and we're also going to experience a rise in our transfer budget up to 35 million. This will also be the first full season where we are setting out our 5-star scout. We'll be keeping him in his home country of Wales, and also seeking out players from outside the top 5 leagues so that we can achieve that dream of European football. David Turnbull is one of Scotland's most exciting young prospects. He's pretty much spent his entire career in the Scottish Premiership for both Motherwell and Celtic, but we'll be completing this transfer for a 32 million fee as Turnbull embarks on his Premier League journey. We are lacking some left-footed options in this squad, particularly out wide, and I noticed that another promising player from Manchester United was released from his contract, now available as a free agent. Tahith Chong will be signed. If we're looking at the player's value, this wasn't as good of a deal as the Creswell or Chambers signings, but it's still somewhere that we need to improve this team. We will be using a position change to act him as a right winger instead of a left winger. This is where the season will begin. We've seen improvements each and every year. I'm expecting that to stay the same for season 4. Other than the Turnbull transfer, there's one additional modification to our starting 11, Buchanan taking over as our starting left back, as we put a lot of trust in him becoming a key player for us at Forest. But it's January 2024 where we pick things up, and we have pretty much stayed the same in terms of our league standings, 11th place. And because of some of the big transfers we made in the summer, we're left with not much of a transfer budget. So I did put a few players on the transfer list. Crystal Palace signing Aaron Creswell for 7 million, and Cafu has fallen out of the starting 11 and substitutes. He's heading to Trabzonspor for 1.2 million. And as we head into the second half of the season, I made the executive decision to start Carvalho over Johnson at left mid. It is, after all, one of Carvalho's secondary positions, and because of the impact he made last year and even the season before that, I think he may be the difference maker. You can tell by our league form from the last 3 matches that we didn't exactly improve in the Premier League, currently sitting 10th place, so we won't be achieving European football via that method. However, we are into the final of the FA Cup against first place Manchester City. A lot of changes to their squad 4 seasons in. That is somewhat expected, but clearly it's worked out for them because they've picked up their first Premier League title in this save. As we walk out into the pitch at Wembley, I'll admit that I was a bit surprised that we've managed to reach the final, but if we do go on to win this match, that'll put a fast forward on the rebuild and get us one step closer to Champions League. You can see we beat some alright opposition, defeating Arsenal in the quarterfinals, but getting into the highlights, we start the match off with a chance in the 4th minute. It's going to be a finesse shot from Carvalho down that left side. Doesn't get that one on target, but already showing that he can get in front of goal, and maybe we'll get a goal scored later on. Carvalho will answer in the 20th minute with that right-footed effort, getting it by Ederson. And if you've played against Manchester City at all in FIFA 21, you know how important scoring the first goal is. This was a really well-taken effort. Cancelo trying to get in front of it, and Ederson, no chance to stop that from going in. We're still in the first half and looking to get on a counter attack. It's Marcus Edwards finding Turnbull. A fantastic through ball to Abel Ruiz. Has one defender left to beat. He's going to get by him with ease and also make Ederson look silly. He was trying to close down the space, but we just waited for the right moment, and our number 9 making an impact in this first season. Carvalho finding Abel Ruiz and another through ball chance to Edwards. This one will just barely be called for offside, but it didn't matter too much in this fixture as we were already winning 2-0. We didn't necessarily need to get a third, especially when we're making defensive stops like this one. The initial tackle from Chambers and the secondary stop from Samba. It's Ferran Torres that tries to play the ball in the middle, but Samba again quick to come off his line, and we're all able to back him up with another deflection. This is going to be the last chance of the match. De Bruyne trying to play out of the back, but ref will call for full time. And just like that, that will be the first trophy that we've secured in this rebuild. It only took us 4 seasons to complete with some of England's best teams. And the future is looking bright for Forest as we take the next step up to European competitions. As we approach the end of the season, we will be promoting one of our youth academy players. Lee Gwyn is a prospect that we found through this season's youth scouting network in Wales. Seems to have a lot of potential. 91 to 94, already at a 65 rating as a right back. But if you look at his stats distribution, I think he would excel at the center back position. Just needs to work on some of the stopper and sweeper development plans that'll help boost his defensive statistics. And you can see that already gave him a +3 in his rating. Do want to give a quick update on the bottom half of the Premier League standings. It was Brentford, Burnley, and Birmingham City that will see relegation to the Championship. And also discussing the Carabao Cup, we managed to reach the semi-finals, Manchester City defeating us across 2 legs 6-1. They did go on to win the double with both the Premier League and the Carabao Cup with a win over Chelsea in the final. What a rise to glory for Wolfsburg. If you can remember, they lost to Bayern München in the Europa League final last season. Now they've gone on to win Champions League over Manchester United. And heartbreak for Chelsea as they lost in another final to Villarreal in the Europa League. Y'all can probably guess based off of his performance in the FA Cup final that Abel Ruiz was the top goal scorer for the club. 21 goals for him across 43 appearances. Johnson, despite only featuring 39 times, still got into the double digits along with one of our new signings, Turnbull, our Scottish midfielder, also getting into the double digits for assists. And as just mentioned, Gwyn did see a nice improvement in his rating, up +5 this season to a 68 overall. Definitely have plans for him to eventually become one of our starting 11 center backs. And our manager rating is still in the upper 70s. I decided not to fulfill the 2 crucial players objective just to make sure we're pacing out this rebuild at the right speed. And I think we've done an alright job of that as we have Europa League to consider for Season 5. Qualifying for European competitions unlocks a lot of doors for realistic signings. You may have noticed prior to now, I've mainly been going after players from outside the top 5 leagues. But now we can consider which clubs are struggling in this rebuild and maybe look to sign some of their talent. We've got some ambitious objectives for the board this season. The most surprising one to me is that they expect us to reach the final of Europa League. But to be fair, they've given us about 50 million to work with in our transfer budget, as we'll visit Northern Ireland again to hopefully find a better player from that country with the 5-star scout. This might be one of the best examples of quality players from the free agents that I've seen so far this year. Angola Kante available, still at an 88 overall at 33 years old. If we had perhaps qualified for Champions League, then I would certainly make this as a signing. But because we are in Europa League and Kante is still a world-class player, I couldn't justify this as a realistic transfer. We will though go after another French center midfielder. It's Masengo from Bristol City. Actually quite similar in his statistics to Kante, has the medium-high work rates. This transfer was completed for 17.5 million and he'll take over as one of our squad squad rotational midfielders. But this is where the transfer window really starts to get interesting. We received a surprise swap deal from Lille for Marcus Edwards, and they have included another former Manchester United youngster, Angel Gomez, as part of the deal. We've seen from last season's performance that Carvalho can indeed play on the left side, which leaves us with some squad depth issues at center attacking mid. With Gomez being a versatile player himself and his primary position being in the midfield, I decided to negotiate this deal as we'll be receiving 35 million plus Angel Gomez as part of the Marcus Edwards transfer. It also opened up the possibility of making this transfer for Leon Bailey. I know he has recently joined Aston Villa in the summer transfer window IRL, but it was a priority for me to find a Jamaican player to add to the squad. As I was doing research for this rebuild, I came to find out that there have been a lot of players from Jamaica that have played for Forest in the past. You've got Wes Morgan, who has the most appearances for the club, and David Johnson as one of the leading all-time goal scorers. And because Bailey is by and far the highest overall and highest potential player from Jamaica, we'll be looking to pay his release clause of 60.3 million and add him to the team. A slightly busier month of August as we have the FA Community Shield to take part in against Manchester City, basically a rematch of last season's FA Cup final. However, the transfers that we made have put us in a much better position. Seeing players now in the mid 80s for their overall gives me a lot of confidence both for this cup final and also for Europa League this season. Unfortunately, the FA Community Shield didn't go to plan. It was De Bruyne that scored the winning goal in the 62nd minute, despite us scoring the first goal of the match. Well, we'll shift focus now to what our group looks like for Europa League. We have Henk, Utrecht, and Rosenborg. I think we'll have no problems advancing out of this group, and as we take a look at how things are doing in January, it has been a below average season for us in the Premier League. We've gone down a few positions to 13th. However, there are not a whole lot of points separating us and 8th place Spurs, so there is a possibility that we could push higher and higher up in the table, but we went unbeaten in our Europa League group, finishing first, which means that we'll be advancing to the knockout rounds. Because we didn't have a whole lot of player departures, we again don't have a lot of funds to consider for this January transfer window, so this will be the squad that we roll with for the remainder of Europa League knockouts. And things didn't start on the best note. A difficult opposition for our first fixture against Marseille. They got the better of us in the away match, winning 2-1, but we saw a good comeback at home, winning that fixture 2-0 and advancing 3-2 on aggregate. That matched us up against Benfica in the round of 16. This time we'll start the simulations with our home leg. That ended in a 1-1 draw and a dominant 3-0 victory in the away fixture, putting us through 4-1 on aggregate into the quarterfinals against another Portuguese opponent in Porto. However, our luck came to an end. A 2-0 defeat in the home fixture, a 1-0 victory in the away leg means that we didn't have enough on aggregate to advance to the semifinals, bringing our European dream to an end. There were a few positives to take away from this season. Our scout in Northern Ireland finally brought back some good talents. Tom Feeney, a 69 overall center attacking mid, and Joseph Dillon, a 60 overall left midfielder. And taking a look at the Premier League standings, it was Watford, Fulham, and West Brom that will see relegation to the Championship. We slightly improved over the course of the season, but pretty much stayed the same compared to last year. It was Chelsea that won the Premier League this year. And recapping our other competitions, we saw another pretty good performance in the FA Cup, eventually being eliminated in the quarterfinals to Huddersfield. Liverpool won this trophy with a 3-0 victory over Leeds in the final. Another quarterfinal exit against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. Liverpool also winning this competition. Is going to be the rise of Bayern München. Not sure where they were last year, but 2 seasons ago they won Europa League. Now they've won Champions League with a 3-2 victory over Atletico Madrid. And PSG defeated the very team that knocked us out with a 1-0 victory over Porto in the final of Europa League. Abel Ruiz continues to shine as a top goal scorer at the club, 19 goals from 51. A good debut season from Leon Bailey, 15 goals from 53. And Carvalho on that left side is doing wonders, 7 assists from 41 appearances. Gwyn also continued to develop. He spent a half a season out on loan at Bruges. That allowed him to grow +8 in his overall, up to a 76, so right on the verge of getting into the starting 11 and substitutes. And despite not meeting our domestic or continental objectives, we somehow saw an improvement in our manager rating, now up to an 82. Our job is definitely safe, but it's kind of a step backwards in terms of our progress in the rebuild. We'll need to once again qualify for Europa League, whether that's based off of a good performance in the Premier League or another FA Cup run. When we were facing relegation from the Premier League in Season 2 and weren't meeting our objectives, I was prepared for the possibility of losing some of our players. And now that we are no longer in Europa League, I think it's only right that we transfer list some of our highest rated prospects. It looks like some veteran leadership is a critical objective for us for brand exposure and, of course, getting back to Europa League. After a few solid seasons at Forest, interest is starting to grow more and more for Abel Ruiz. It's an offer from both Manchester City, who I was not about to let him depart for, as it's only going to make our our quest in the Premier League more difficult. Instead, we're going to be reviewing this offer from Bayern München. Robert Lewandowski is getting older. I imagine he's going to be retiring within the next season or two. So it kind of works out perfectly. They need a new number 9. We need to let some of our talented players go. And now he's not going to be competing against us in the Premier League. After that transfer was completed, it leaves us with roughly 150 million to work with. And instead of spending that on a single player, I want to balance it out across a few different transfers. First off, we need a striker replacement. Troy Parrott is going to be that guy for us from Manchester City at this point in the save. Certainly not up to the same level as Ruiz, but still pretty good potential for him. And we're going to complete this signing for 33 million. He'll also be inheriting the new number 9 role for us. And there have been some question marks as of late for Samba, so I decided to go ahead and sign another high potential goalkeeper option. Forest have had a couple of Dutch goalkeepers in the past. And again, we're going to turn to outside the top 5 leagues to sign Verbruggen from Anderlecht. The 22-year-old is at a 79 overall potential, right around the mid-80s. And it's another 30 million that we'll need to spend to complete this transfer. And you know I had to sign a former Forest player to sign a veteran to the squad. It's Jamal Lascelles. At this point, an 80 overall at Newcastle United. This is going to allow Gwyn to continue developing and not put so much pressure on him to go straight into the starting 11. It's the cheapest of the 3 transfers that we made as well, only 17.5 million that we need to spend. Now that we are in the later stages of the rebuild, you're starting to see some of the higher overall and higher potential players retire, and as a result, their regens are made available. Jorge Parrott is Jamie Vardy's regen. Doesn't exactly have all the same statistics as Vardy, but you can trust me, I checked the birthdays to make sure they're exactly the same. And at a 68 overall, I think we're going to try to loan him out and see if he can achieve the same goal scoring consistency that Vardy has had over the last few Premier League seasons. There are a few departures that we need to discuss. Horvath was sent out on loan for most seasons of the rebuild, never really reached the overall that I was hoping for, so he's off to Sampdoria for 3.7 million. And because we have the arrival of Lascelles, Gwyn on the verge of breaking into the starting 11, we're going to be receiving some funds from the Scott McKenna transfer as he departs for Newcastle for 30 million. One loan deal to discuss. It seems like Johnson was completely halted in his overall rating. Still at just 24 years old, maybe we can help boost that through a loan spell. So he's off to the Bundesliga for this season as he'll be joining Hertha Berlin. You know, maybe it's a good thing that we aren't in European competition so that we have less fixtures to play. We can focus more on our Premier League performance. The squad certainly is still capable of it. All of our players into the 80s for their rating, except for Buchanan, who has youth on his side. We'll check in January, and again, it's 11th place for us. It seems like that is consistently where we are. We've got a few injuries here and there, such as for Buchanan, but nothing too serious, and as a result, I'm not looking to make any additional signings for this January transfer window, but we will have one more departure as Fornal will leave for 1.1 million. Clearly, our luck has just not been in the Premier League, but the FA Cup, for whatever reason, we have done extremely well for that competition. We're once again into the final, this time against the other Manchester club, Manchester United. And as we revisit the Premier League standings, we stayed in 11th. Manchester United, on the other hand, did win the title by 4 points. Well, you'll remember when we defeated Manchester City last time in the FA Cup, they won the Premier League, so we're capable of beating this sort of opposition. I was hoping to maybe see Garner in the United starting 11, but some interesting choices for them in the midfield, and as we scouted out Garner, he's up to an 86 overall. That has made the transfer to Borussia Dortmund. Had we moved at a little faster of a pace in this rebuild, I think he would have been eligible for a transfer, but it was just not meant to be. Both us and Manchester United have a history of success in this competition, especially in this rebuild. So hopefully we can continue that good form and find ourselves back in Europa League, because who knows how long that might take if we have to go through the Premier League. We've done even better to beat some quality opponents to get this far, both Chelsea and Manchester City. But United have some quality players of their own. Bruno Fernandes, the standout. The last time we played in the FA Cup, we had an early start, and that was no different in this fixture against Manchester United. Carvalho down the left side, showing some trickery and some good skill moves. Fast passing play to find Bailey, and on his preferred left foot, you probably expect him to be finding the back of the net there, but that didn't stop us from creating more chances. It's Bailey again trying to redeem himself, using some of his pace to burn by the Manchester United players, and it's Parrott to find the back of the net. And while we initially signed him to get sort of a downgrade in a rating and a more realistic option as striker, I actually preferred how he played in game compared to Abel Ruiz, showcasing his ability here and composure to step up in clutch matches. But you knew it was only a matter of time before this Manchester United attack started to get things going. Richarlison spotting out Bruno Fernandes. Nothing Samba can really do about that. So we'll be going into the halftime break level. All things to play for in the next 45 minutes. We'll make a change about 60 minutes in, Turnbull being brought off and Gomez matching up against his former team. Maybe he could be the difference maker. But shortly after that substitution, it's going to be a set piece, and somehow this ball found the back of the net. Really poor effort from us defending from the corner kick. Kimpembe doing well to win that header in a bit of a scramble, and that's all Manchester United really needed to go out in front and probably hang on to the lead. You can see here as we get into the 90th minute, we've got players forward, even bringing our keeper out to try to win back possession, but things were not meant to be for us. We struggled to create chances, and Manchester United did very well to hang on to possession. They won't get a third goal, but the ref not allowing us to get one more counterattack in. So we're going to fall in the FA Cup, pushing back our plans for this rebuild another season. But I'm all right with that because I think that reflects the Nottingham Forest story. Of course, in their history, they've had some rapid rises, but also some falls from grace as we incorporate that into this rebuild story. It's Raphael Varane to lift the trophy for Manchester United. You've got to wonder if he can pull something off like this in his first season IRL with them. So recapping how things went in the Premier League, Stoke City, Swansea City, and Crystal Palace dropping down to the championship. I think the second round exit in the Carabao Cup probably benefited us more than anything and was a big reason why we were able to reach the final of the FA Cup. Liverpool defeated Chelsea 3-2 in the final. Liverpool also winning against Manchester United in the Champions League final. Spurs defeating Milan in the Europa League. It's an impressive statistic for Samba. Despite us finishing mid-table, he actually had the most clean sheets in the league. I think the added pressure of us signing a high potential goalkeeper as a backup option made him perform much better compared to previous seasons. Parrott continuing his goal scoring form, 17 goals from 38. Turnbull has already been the top assist player for us and will continue that here with 8 assists from 35 appearances. And Feeney, one of our youth academy prospects that we found from Northern Ireland, saw a +6 in his growth during a year-long loan spell at West Brom. Largely thanks to our domestic success not being a huge priority for the board, our manager rating has more or less stayed the same, and we'll rethink some plans going into season 7. From here on out, if we're not able to achieve European qualification, we're going to continue letting some of our star players go, as our board objectives have more or less stayed stagnant. They want us to continue qualifying for a Europa League spot. I think this could be the year that we do it, especially considering we have some funds left over from last season, 115 million to work with, because we were receiving offers from big clubs like Real Madrid for Florentino, and also he wasn't exactly reaching the overall ratings and potential I was expecting of him. He will be one of our key departures as we accept an offer of 50 million. But I was most interested in some sort of swap deal. I tried negotiating this as part of the Florentino transfer, but for whatever reason, Real Madrid were having no part in it. So what I ended up doing was accepting the full price for Florentino at 50 mil, and then just getting into talks for a separate Ferguson transfer, as we will seal this signing for 40 million. Also some changes in mind for Callum Chambers. Initially, we had him playing as a right back, but as he starts to get older, I think he might be better fitted as a center back. And to my surprise, that gave me a +3 in his overall, also qualifying for the stopper development plan. Obviously, now we need to look for a new right back option. Thomas Tavarez is one of my favorite players and right backs in FIFA 21. We want Portuguese players to be a big part in this Nottingham Forest squad, and this transfer was well within our means as we will complete it for 50 million, adding some more quality in our defense. It does bring up the question of what we should be doing with João Carvalho. He's starting to get up there in age, and because we haven't been meeting our objectives of qualifying for Europe, I think it is best that we part ways as we let him leave for 43 million off to Roma. Usain Ba has also fallen out of our starting 11 and substitutes as he departs to Parma for 8.1 million. I've tried 2 different routes for Gwyn, both loaning him out and featuring him in our starting 11. I feel like because he has such a high potential, loaning him is the best thing for the long-term future of this rebuild, even if it's just for one season. And Lyon are also in Champions League football, so that'll be a good experience for him. It's been a summer transfer window with a lot of changes both in and out of the club, but I think that has been very much needed because we haven't performed up to our expectations in the league, and sometimes just using a different selection of players will be the spark that we needed to turn around this rebuild. We'll see how we're doing in January of 2027. And we are in a Champions League spot as things stand, 4th place with 40 points. I think this can largely be attributed to our defensive improvements. Chambers with the position change to center back, the addition of Tavarez at right back, and Samba, it seems like dynamic potential has finally started to take over, largely based off of his good performances in game and the simulations. With an opportunity for us to qualify for Champions League, I'm not going to be stopping our transfers here. With Mousset hardly featuring nowadays, I felt like adding another French player to this Forest squad, and Adil Al-Shish will be the perfect option The left-sided midfielder can also play in the center of the park as center attacking mid or center mid. Also has the 4-star skill moves to offer. We will be using a position change to convert him to a left winger as his attacking stats are better than his defensive stats, with us only having to spend 40 million on this transfer. And this is what I mean about Ligue 1. He went up +4 in just half a season out on loan at Lyon. With him being one of our better center back options, I decided to bring his loan spell to an end. Usually not something I do, but desperate times call for desperate measures as we try to finish out this season strong. It's a fixture against Brighton in March that we're going to visit for some gameplay. And looking at the league standings, this is exactly why. Brighton has performed exceptionally well in this rebuild. Some high potential players typically transferring there, like Kamavinga in the midfield, Josh Sargent and Vlahovic at the striker positions. You've also got some sort of backstory with Nottingham Forest current manager Chris Hughton previously being in charge of Brighton for about 5 seasons. Admittedly, Bailey has been underwhelming in his in-game performances. He continues to grow in his overall, but unable to register this shot on target, missed a few chances in the FA Cup last season, so clearly finishing is one area that he needs to work on. But fortunately, we have 11 players on the pitch, and Turnbull is definitely one that can make the impact on this match. He's able to find Parrott in the middle, and time and time again, he seems to create this space for himself inside the box and makes things easier for himself with a lot of tap-in goals. We will make a change and feature Auchiche for the first time. Brendan Johnson got the start, but I was excited to feature our French signing in his first fixture. Turnbull trying to make things too, but a quality save from Morales to stop that from going in. Bailey off the post, still trying to make something out of nothing as he goes to the edge of the box. Eventually over to Yates. This shot is blocked, and Brighton trying to get something going. But just minutes later, after a few more changes, it's Chong that's played through. And once again, Parrott in the middle. It's going to be a tap-in goal for him, making it 2 for us, which will definitely see out the victory and a crucial win against a Brighton squad that is challenging to finish in a Champions League position. We weren't even done there, though, as Parrott showcases why he was such a good option for us in game, playing the perfect through ball to Angel Gomez. That's going to be a nice cross goal finish to get our 3rd goal of the match, putting on a thrilling display for the fans at home. We've had some struggles throughout this rebuild, but this is definitely one of the highs that we've experienced so far, and we just need to carry this sort of momentum for the rest of the season and become one of the top 4 teams in the Premier League. We did go on to do just that, finishing 2nd in the Prem. A lot of teams within just a few points of us, but we had the fewest goals allowed, which was a key part in our performance this season. A 5th round exit against Spurs in the FA Cup, Wolves winning that competition. Also a 2nd round defeat in the Carabao Cup. But I continue to emphasize that I'd rather have this so we have fewer fixtures to play. Spurs won the final over Everton in a 3-1 victory. Manchester United winning the Champions League in another all-English final. And Eintracht Frankfurt winning Europa League over Marseille. Turnbull was tied for Tavarez with the most assists in the Premier League, and in consecutive seasons, it's Samba to have the most clean sheets. Both Turnbull and Parrott finishing with 14 goals for the club. Turnbull doing it with a lot fewer appearances. Very consistent numbers for assists as well for Turnbull, as he was considerably higher than any other player in the squad. The combination of a half-season loan plus consistent play time has allowed Gwyn to go +6 in his rating. Definitely into the starting 11 now and becoming one of the world's best center backs at just 20 years old. And a sharp rise in our manager rating, largely thanks to that 2nd place finish in the Premier League. We're within reaching distance of our goal of becoming the best team in Europe. It's a whole new ballgame for Season 8. Now that we are in Champions League, we can attract some of the top players from around the world as we look to make waves in Europe, but also in the Premier League. The board has taken notice of that momentum as they expect for us to reach the final of Champions League this season. With just shy of 200 million to work with for our transfer budget, we're first going to go through a position change for Parrott. Vardy's regen was lacking some of the shooting statistics. However, his pace and dribbling is quite good. But more importantly, we're going to make a defensive upgrade at the left back position. Nouri is another exciting French talent that has spent some time at Wolves on loan before joining the club on a permanent basis for 11.1 million. But in this save, he is still at Angers, and for whatever reason, he hasn't transferred to another club. I think he's certainly ready for Champions League football at an 85 overall. So we'll be making this signing for a 50 million fee. And a preview of what Champions League will look like for us. We've got one really difficult opponent in our group with Inter, also Gent and Moscow, so I expect for us to at least finish in the top 2. We're incredibly balanced though across the board in our starting 11. Perhaps we should look for some other signings off the bench, but you got to remember a lot of the players that feature as substitutes are still fairly young, so they can grow in their overall rating. And as we do have a busy month ahead in January, we'll preview the Premier League table. We sit 8 points clear of Liverpool, still yet to lose a match and continuing our great defensive outing, only allowing 8 goals across 21 appearances. Champions League also went as expected as we finished 2nd in the group. Still not sure why Inter gets the lead despite us having the better goal differential. I'm guessing that Champions League rules are slightly different, but we do have some decisions to make in our starting 11. You'll notice at the striker position, Parrott is suffering from an injury. It's going to leave him out for a couple of months, so this is exactly the time that we need to make a signing in January to make sure that we can continue making progress in Champions League and also hold our spot in the Prem. Madueke is one of the top prospects in career mode and also one of the top prospects IRL. While he is listed as a right mid, you can see he can also play striker. So I think he's the perfect player for us. We'll have him up top while Parrott recovers from his injury. This will mark the most expensive deal of the rebuild. However, it was a great deal in terms of transfer business, as Madueke's value is at 85.5 mil. We brought him in for less than that at 80 million. I didn't run into the issue too much of players requesting a transfer. However, we did have one with Angel Gomez. I must have simulated too many fixtures and not included him in the starting 11. So as a result, he's going to be heading to Hertha Berlin for 42.3 million. We'll catch up in February with our first Champions League knockout fixture. It's a round of 16 match against Atletico Madrid. Definitely a tough opponent, but our team is in full form. Also, most of our players hitting the upper 80s and lower 90s. It was a huge loss in the home fixture, 4-0. The away match went a little bit better, but still losing 5-1 on aggregate means that full focus will now go towards the Premier League. Still 3 fixtures remaining as we head into this match at the end of April against Arsenal. However, a win or a draw would be enough for us to mathematically secure the title, so of course we'll be playing this match. Arsenal were fairly successful in the early stages of this rebuild, but I haven't heard too much from them as of late. I've got to hand it to the Arsenal though. They've made some really interesting transfers, signing both Doan and Kubu, who are going to play a huge part in this match. Doan to score the first just 14 minutes into this fixture. Arsenal trying to break some hearts here in front of their own fans. Now that we spent a few seasons in this rebuild with Samba between the sticks, I've got to say that one of his weaknesses is on the near post. He lets a lot of those efforts in. This is just a defensive mistake. Tavarez not locking on to the right player, passing it straight to Arsenal as they double their lead before the halftime break. But with the new half is going to come some new chances. Parrott fully recovered from his injury. Good to see that he is rested and back to his best. Great goal there from Turnbull. He roofs that one into the top of the net, cutting the deficit in half as we make a change. It's Madueke, the impact sub for us. And with the clock trickling down, we'll need to get this goal quickly. Some nice build-up play as Ferguson turns the defender, plays through Al-Shish, and on his right foot is going to go across goal. This is probably my favorite cinematic celebration to date in this rebuild, considering everything that is going on. While it is more stylish to win a Premier League title with a victory, a draw is all we need. So as long as we hang on to this result, we'll be taking the Prem trophy back to Nottingham. Kind of a shame that we won't be able to witness the trophy celebration, as I think this is a away fixture, so they probably celebrate it at home. But this is the match that I prefer to highlight, and we'll have to look forward to his trophy celebration in the Champions League. In the final few matches, I did decide to give Lascelles the start, as he is retiring at the end of the season. It's a shame that he can't be a part of this squad for the entirety of the rebuild. But looking at the Prem standings, we did end up winning the title by 10 points, seeing a quarterfinal exit in the FA Cup, and Brighton winning that competition on penalties against Everton. We also lost out in the Carabao Cup final. Would have been nice to add that trophy as well in this rebuild, but it was Manchester United that defeated us. And then recapping Champions League, we of course saw a round of 16 exit, AC Milan winning an exciting Champions League final on penalties against Dortmund, with Leipzig lifting the Europa League title over Fiorentina. And I think this is the 3rd consecutive season now, Samba with 19 clean sheets leading the league. Some interesting numbers for goals, both Bailey and Parrott breaking into the 20+ goals category. And then Al-Shish from the left wing position got into the double digits, 11 assists from 53. Parrott saw some pretty good growth as a result of that position change, and also a brief loan spell to Liverpool. So with the Premier League checked off, that really just leaves Champions League for us, and that'll be our ambition as we head into season 9 of the rebuild. For reference, the last realistic rebuild I did with Werder Bremen lasted 7 seasons. I think it's just the fact that there is more competition in England, so getting its Europa League and Champions League proves to be more difficult. However, this season we have 231 million to work with in our transfer budget. I fully intend on using as many of those funds as possible in order to help us achieve more progress in Champions League. Barcelona has underperformed in this save, so we're going to look to sign another Spanish player, the first one that we brought in since the Abel Ruiz departure. It is of course Anzu Fati, one of the world's best players at this stage. Has everything you can ask for as a left-sided winger, 4-star skills, 4-star weak foot, but he does come with a hefty fee. We paid his 176.6 million release clause. I also wanted to make sure that we had a proper striker available. That way Madueke can purely serve as a Bailey replacement in case he suffers an injury. So it's Ricky J. Jones, the career mode fan favorite, that will sign from West Ham United for 41.1 million. And because we signed another winger, I decided to convert Al-Shish to more of a central player. I actually gave him a +1 to his rating. But we're back into the FA Community Shield to kick off this 28-29 campaign. Brighton will be our opponents, and they handed us a 2-1 defeat. Not how we wanted to start off the season, especially considering we suffered an injury to one of our crucial players. Lee Gwynn will be out for 3 months. Former club captain Joe Worrell will be taking over at the right center back position. As we've got plenty of wingers in this team, I also decided to let Parrott leave the club for 23 million. He'll be heading to Leverkusen. Our Champions League group is certainly more difficult this season, as we have both Real Madrid and Ajax to consider along with Dynamo Zagreb. But at the halfway mark, not too many fixtures for us to consider in January. We we are not performing quite as well in the Premier League, but still in the running for the league title. However, we did see an improvement in Champions League, finishing just 1 point ahead of Real Madrid for that first place spot in our group. Fully confident with our starting 11. My main emphasis in January is to make sure that whatever substitutes we have the quality to slot into the squad if they are called upon. That does mean I recalled Verbruggen from his loan spell. He's up to an 85 overall, which in most cases would earn him the starting goalkeeper role. But because Samba has been so good, he's going to stay as our starting keeper. Also, position change for Tom Feeney, our youth academy prospect out of Northern Ireland. Decided to convert him to a center midfielder just to give us an extra player for the center defensive mid / center mid position. A positive about finishing first in our Champions League group is that our opposition on our path to the final should be easier. Our round of 16 fixture against Benfica, who we have already defeated in Europa League a few seasons ago. The away leg ended in a 1-1 draw, but we pulled off a clutch result at home, winning that fixture 1-0 and advancing 2-1 on aggregate, matching up against last year's Champions League winners AC Milan. A dominant outing away 2-0 and another good outing at home 2-1 will see us through to the semi-finals against a familiar opponent in Manchester City. But it seemed like no matter who we matched up against, they were not going to be stopping us. The home leg ending in a 3-0 win. The away fixture a little bit closer, but we still advanced 4-2 on aggregate, which will put us into the final of Champions League against the very team that knocked us out last season, Atletico Madrid. As this will be the final match of the rebuild regardless of result, I do want to recap all the other competitions. We did pull off the Premier League title by a single point, so a good comeback in the second half of the season, also winning the FA Cup. The Carabao Cup did see a 4th round exit to Manchester City, and they went on to win the competition. And Juventus won Europa League in an all-Italian final. Well, we know what we're up against, but this is an improved squad from last season. We've made some big signings like the Fati transfer, and also our players just naturally growing in their overall. I am happy that this match was played at a neutral ground. The San Siro is where our fate will be decided. Can we pull off what Nottingham Forest were able to do in the 70s? And even more so, if we ever decide to revisit this save, I feel like the squad is set up in a structure so that we could easily repeat as Champions League winners because we have so many young players in the team. It's Atletico Madrid that kick off the highlights 16 minutes in. They're going to hang on to some possession here. Looking at this replay back, I felt like we defended pretty well, but the ball continues to bounce back to Atletico Madrid's favor. Yates trying to win back possession, but Lamar skips past him, and it's a near post finish. We know that's Samba's weak point, and it will prove to be costly in this one as we go down early 1-0, but still plenty of time to get back into this fixture. We're into the second half, and this is going to be some quick 1-2 passing between Parrott and Turnbull. Eventually, it is Turnbull that will finish this cross goal. He's been the best player for us in this rebuild, has made so much progress since we first signed him several seasons ago, and this is entirely characteristic of his play style, has immense passing and shooting ability. Just a few minutes later, it'll be Leon Bailey who will try to make up for missed chances in previous seasons, playing through Tavarez, who will spot out Parrott across goal. No way that Oblak can get across in time, giving us the lead. And this is where things really started to kick off for us. We're going to try to get a third. It's Turnbull playing through Fati, back to Turnbull, off of the near post, off of the other post, and eventually cleared away by Atletico Madrid. 73rd minute now. Pretty much every single chance in this second half fell to us, and look at this for a finish from Parrott. Potentially goal of the rebuild contender. The amount of power on that shot was immense. I didn't expect Parrott to be this good when I signed him as an Abel Ruiz transfer, but things happen for a reason. One final chance for Atletico Madrid to maybe get a goal back, but off of the corner kick, we'll get things away. And now we can officially say that we are Champions League winners once again with Nottingham Forest. What a rebuild this has been, both some quick rises through the championship and into the Premier League, eventually making way to Europa League courtesy of our FA Cup performance. And then we were stagnant for a couple of seasons, not really making any progress, finishing mid-table until we finally saw that jump up to Champions League. It only took 2 seasons in this competition for us to lift the trophy. It's nice that we have 2 original squad players in Yates and Samba still in the starting 11, and even a couple of more that feature occasionally off the bench. We'll quickly cover the top goals, top assists, as well as some of the final statistics. Parrott getting into the 30-plus goal category, and for assists, it was Anzu Fati that had a great debut season. Yates also growing +3 in his overall, up to a 91 rating. And if you were wondering who is in the squad, this is everybody that we're still featuring. For the most part, for the gameplay, I was just showcasing the players in our starting 11 and substitutes. But we did have a couple of good youth academy players come through, and given a couple more seasons, they may have even broken into the team. Manager rating also ending up in the green, so that's always a perk. I do want to give thanks to channel members for supporting what we do here on YouTube. If you ever want to learn more about the membership program, click the join button right underneath the video. video and unlock some exclusive perks of the channel. But a shout out to all of you for the support that you continue to show on these realistic rebuilds. I have a lot of fun doing research for these type of videos, and I plan on doing lots more of them in FIFA 22. As always, if you have any suggestions for what teams you want to see next, leave that in the comment section. Leave a like if you enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new, but until next time, this has been Flick. I'll be talking to y'all again soon.